The Gathering of the Ancients. The obsidian chamber had not been opened in 300,000 years. Its walls were carved from the compressed heart of a dead star, inscribed with warnings in languages that predated most civilizations. Here, in the space between galaxies, the 5 elder species gathered when existence itself faced annihilation. Grand Arbiter Thessalon of the Vorthani settled his massive crystalline form into the chamber's central seat. His species had mastered faster-than-light travel when the Milky Way was still forming its spiral arms. Around him, the other elders took their positions. The Mindari, beings of pure psychic energy, flickered in shades of ancient gold. The Crethonis coiled their serpentine bodies around obsidian pillars, their scales containing the memories of 1 billion conquered worlds. The Luminarch of the Selith hovered as living light, while the Jaxvari delegation stood motionless in their mechanical forms, consciousness uploaded into metal shells eons ago. "We are gathered," Thessalon announced, his voice resonating through dimensions, "because the Void Singers have awakened." The chamber fell into absolute silence. Even the Mindari ceased their eternal psychic hum. "Impossible," hissed Kolveth, eldest of the Crethonis. "We sealed them beyond the event horizon of the eternal black. No force in this universe could free them." "And yet they stir." Thessalon projected images into the chamber's center. Stars winked out in sequence, forming a pattern that crept toward the galaxy's punctulated regions. 3 systems have already gone dark. Whatever barrier held them has failed. The Luminarch of the Selith pulsed with agitation. "We must combine our forces, as we did in the first war. The Void Singers nearly consumed everything that existed. Only our united power drove them back." "Our united power," Varaxis of the Jaxvari interrupted, his mechanical voice carrying notes of calculation, "was sufficient 4 million years ago. We have grown comfortable in our dominance, soft. The younger species have flourished under our protection, but they cannot help us now." Thessalon raised a crystalline appendage. "There is another matter to address. The humans have requested representation at this gathering." Laughter echoed through the chamber, though each species expressed amusement differently. The Crethonis rattled their scales. The Mindani flickered with mocking gold. Even the usually stoic Jaxvari emitted sounds of derision. "The humans," Kolvet's coils tightened with contempt, "those primitives who still burn chemical fuel, who have barely touched their own moon, they dare request a seat among elders?" "They have been observing our communications," Thessalon admitted. "We do not know how." This sobered the chamber somewhat. The Elder Communication Network operated on principles that younger species should not be able to detect, let alone decode. A curiosity, the Luminarch dismissed. Perhaps they stumbled upon fragments of our transmissions. It has happened before with precocious species. We will send them away with wiped memories and continue our deliberations. "They are already here," Thessalon said quietly. The chamber doors opened. 3 humans walked in, their footsteps impossibly steady on the obsidian floor that should have frozen organic tissue instantly. They wore simple clothing, nothing that should protect them from the chamber's hostile environment, yet they moved as casually as if strolling through a garden. The lead human, a woman with gray-streaked dark hair and calm brown eyes, smiled at the assembled elders. "Thank you for seeing us. I am Director Amara Okonkwo of Earth's Continuity Division. My colleagues are Dr. Samuel Reeves and Commander Lin Xiaoming." Kolveth reared up to his full height, towering over the humans. "You should not be alive. This chamber exists partially outside normal space. The temperature alone should have crystallized your blood." "Yes," Amara agreed pleasantly, "it is quite cold. Shall we proceed to the matter at hand? The Void Singers, I believe?" The elders exchanged glances across species, a rare moment of unified confusion. "How do you know that name?" Thessalan demanded. "It has not been spoken outside elder councils for millions of years." Dr. Reeves, a tall man with weathered features and kind eyes, stepped forward. "We have been tracking their movements as well. Your barrier held admirably for its intended duration. But temporal entropy affects all constructs eventually, even ones as elegant as yours." Commander Lin pulled what appeared to be an ordinary tablet computer from her jacket. "We project full emergence within 6 standard months. The first wave will target the Andromeda approach corridor, cutting off your retreat routes before moving to primary population centers." The Jaxvari Varaxis scanned the tablet with sensors that could detect quantum fluctuations across light years. "This device should not function. Its base components are primitive silicates and rare earth elements, yet it is projecting calculations that surpass our own models. We prefer simple tools. They are harder to break," Lin said. The Luminarch blazed with frustration. "Enough games! You are primitives. Your entire species has existed for the blink of a cosmic eye. Whatever trick allowed you to survive entering this chamber, whatever technology you carry, you cannot contribute to a war against the Void Singers. Leave now and we will be merciful." Amara's smile did not waver, but something ancient flickered behind her eyes. Merciful. That is an interesting choice of words. Tell me, Luminarch, how old do you believe your species to be? "We achieved consciousness 7 million years before your sun ignited. We have watched galaxies collide and reform. We have seen entropy claim civilizations beyond counting. And you believe this makes you elder? It is simple fact." Amara nodded slowly. "Dr. Reeves, would you show them the Kepler archive?" Reeves touched his simple tablet, the chamber's walls, carved from materials that should have been impervious to any technology, suddenly displayed images. Star maps, but wrong. The positions were off by millions of years, showing the galaxy in configurations that predated all elder records. "What is this?" Thessalan's crystalline form rang with alarm. "Your ancestors," Amara said softly, "as we knew them." The images shifted. They showed worlds the elders recognized from their earliest histories, but populated by structures that should not exist. Human structures, cities of impossible beauty, technology that made the elder achievements look like children's toys, and everywhere the unmistakable form of humanity. Kolvef's scales turned pale. "This is fabrication, manipulation. Humans have existed for a mere thousands of years." "Humans have existed on Earth for thousands of years," Reeves corrected gently. "Earth is not where we began. It is where we chose to begin again." Commander Lin expanded the display. 11.7 billion years ago, humanity achieved what you might call transcendence. We had mastered every law of physics, bent reality to our will, and conquered death itself. We fought the Void Singers in their first emergence and drove them back at tremendous cost. And then, Amara continued, we realized something that changed everything. We had become gods, but we had forgotten what it meant to be human. Our power was absolute, our wisdom non-existent. We had won against the Void Singers, but we had lost ourselves. The elders remained frozen, unable or unwilling to process what they were hearing. "So," Amara said, "we made a choice. We dismantled our empire, erased our technologies, scattered our people across the cosmos, and buried our memories. We became mortal again, started from nothing, on a small blue world that we hoped would teach us humility." "The seeding," Thessalan whispered, referencing an elder legend so old that most considered it myth. "We did not create you," Amara clarified, "but we made sure the galaxy would nurture you. Every elder species, every younger race, every civilization that has ever risen, you are our legacy. Not our children, but our hope. We wanted to see what the cosmos would become without our interference."
Veraxis's mechanical form whirred with intense calculation. If this is true, why reveal yourselves now? Why not let us face the Void Singers alone? For the first time, Amara's smile faded. Because you would lose. Not through any fault of your own, but because the Void Singers have been waiting, evolving. The barrier we created was never meant to hold forever. It was meant to give the galaxy time to mature, to develop new approaches that our ancient minds could not conceive. She looked around the chamber at each elder species in turn. We hoped you would find solutions we never could, and in many ways you have. The Mindari's understanding of consciousness, the Jaxvari's fusion of organic and mechanical thought, the Chthonisis' mastery of biological adaptation. Each of your species has developed something unique and valuable. But not enough, the Luminarch said, understanding dawning in their light. You are telling us that even with all our advancements, we cannot defeat the Void Singers. Not alone, Lin confirmed, and not with the methods you know. The Void Singers consume energy and matter. They feed on the very fabric of space-time. Every weapon you possess will only make them stronger. Then what hope is there? Kolveth demanded. Amara turned to face the great serpent directly. That is why we are here. Not to fight your war for you, but to share what we have learned during our long exile. You see, we did not spend these millions of years simply playing at being primitive. We were studying something far more powerful than any technology. And what is that? Thessalon asked. Amara's eyes shone with something that made even the ancient elders feel young. We were learning what it means to be small, to struggle, to fail and rise again, to find strength not in power, but in connection, in love, in sacrifice. These are things our ancient selves never understood. They are also the only things the Void Singers cannot consume. Before anyone could respond, alarms began echoing through the obsidian chamber. The star maps flickered, showing new darkness spreading faster than any projections had predicted. They know we are here, Reeves said grimly, checking his tablet. The Void Singers can sense elder gatherings. Our presence has accelerated their emergence. Commander Lin straightened her jacket with military precision. We have perhaps 3 hours before the first wave reaches this station. The elders fell into chaos. The Mindari blazed with panic. The Chthonises coiled defensively. The Jaxvari began calculating escape routes while the Luminarch flickered erratically. Only Thessalon remained calm, his crystalline gaze fixed on the 3 humans who stood steady amid the pandemonium. You came here knowing this would happen, he said quietly. You used yourselves as bait. Amara nodded. The Void Singers needed to be drawn out, concentrated in one location rather than spreading throughout the galaxy. This station, with all 5 elder species present and 3 humans who carry the echo of ancient power, was irresistible to them. You have trapped us all. We have gathered us all, Amara corrected. There is a difference. In 3 hours, the greatest threat this universe has ever known will arrive at our doorstep. And for the first time in billions of years, humanity will fight alongside its children rather than standing apart as distant guardians. She extended her hand to the Grand Arbiter. The question is, will you fight with us? Will you trust that sometimes the youngest seeming among you carries the oldest wisdom? Thessalon looked at her hand, then at his fellow elders who had fallen silent watching this exchange. For millions of years, they had considered themselves the pinnacle of cosmic evolution. Now, a being who looked like a simple mortal woman was asking them to accept a truth that rewrote everything they believed. The crystalline arbiter reached out and took her hand. It should have been impossible, his form incompatible with organic matter. Yet somehow they touched. "Tell us what we need to do," Thessalon said. Amara smiled, and for just a moment the elders glimpsed what lay behind her mortal mask. Ancient beyond measure, powerful beyond comprehension, and yet somehow more human than they had ever expected. "First," she said, "let me show you what we learned in our years of being small."
The truth unveiled. The Void Singers arrived not as ships or armies, but as absence. Space itself began to unravel at the edges of the obsidian station, reality peeling away like old paint to reveal the hungry nothing beneath. Grand Arbiter Thessalon had witnessed supernovas, the collision of galaxies, and the birth of black holes. None of it prepared him for this. The Void Singers did not exist in any conventional sense. They were the negation of existence, holes in the fabric of everything that was, had been, or could be. "They are larger than our records indicated," Voraxis observed, his mechanical sensors struggling to quantify the approaching darkness. "Our historical data suggest they consumed single stars. These manifestations could swallow solar systems." "They have been feeding on the barrier we created," Dr. Reeves explained, his calm demeanor unchanged, even as reality buckled around them. 4 million years of contained energy, slowly absorbed. They are stronger now than they were in the First War. The Mindari Collective broadcast waves of despair. "Then we are finished. Even united, we cannot oppose entropy itself." "You are thinking like elders," Commander Lin said sharply, "trying to match power with power. That is precisely what the Void Singers expect." She turned to the assembled species, her tablet projecting tactical displays that should have been incomprehensible to primitive human technology. "During our exile, we spent considerable time studying what you cannot fight with force: grief, loneliness, despair. The Void Singers are not so different from these things. They are the universe's expression of endings." "You cannot fight an ending," Kolveth hissed, his ancient scales trembling. "No," Amara agreed, "but you can give it meaning. That is what the Void Singers lack. They consume, but they do not understand. They end things, but they cannot comprehend what they destroy." The station shuddered as the first tendrils of void touched its outer barriers. The elders combined defensive systems, technologies that had protected civilizations for millions of years, began to flicker and die. "Whatever you intend to do," the Luminarch blazed urgently, "do it now." Amara closed her eyes. When she opened them again, they contained stars, not metaphorically, but literally. Galaxies swirled in her pupils, nebulae bloomed in her irises. "We did not come to fight for you," she said, her voice carrying harmonics that made the elders' most fundamental particles vibrate in recognition. "Thessalon, do you trust me?" The crystalline arbiter hesitated only a moment. "I do." "Then open your mind. Let me show you what humanity learned during our long walk through mortality." Thessalon lowered his mental barriers, something no Vorthani had done with another species in recorded history. What flooded through him was not power. It was not ancient technology or cosmic secrets. It was memory. He experienced a mother holding her dying child, feeling love so fierce that it burned brighter than stars. He felt a soldier shielding strangers with his body, choosing death so others could live. He witnessed a scientist working through the night, driven not by glory, but by simple hope that knowledge might ease suffering. He saw humans failing, falling, breaking, under weights no elder species could imagine, and then he saw them rising again, not because they were strong, but because they chose to be.
because they refused to accept that endings meant nothing. "Do you understand?" Amara's voice echoed through his consciousness. Thessalon understood. The Void Singers consumed meaning. They fed on the significance that conscious beings gave to existence. But humanity had spent billions of years learning that meaning was not found in power or achievement. Meaning was created in the choice to matter, in the decision that existence was worthwhile despite its inevitable end. "Share it," Amara commanded, "with everyone." Thessalon reached out to the other elders, passing along what he had received. The Mindari collective blazed with new colors as they absorbed human memories of connection and love. Krathos' scales shifted to shades his species had never displayed as he processed millennia of human perseverance. The Luminarch's light took on warmth that had nothing to do with temperature. Even the Jaxvari, beings of pure logic lost, found their calculations interrupted by something they could only call wonder. The Void Singers breached the station's outer hall. They poured in like liquid night, tendrils of non-existence reaching for the gathered consciousness. This close, the elders could sense what the Void Singers truly were. Not malevolent, not evil, simply the universe's way of reclaiming energy that had organized itself into patterns of being. They were the eventual truth that all things ended. And they were ravenous. Dr. Reeves stepped forward directly into the path of the leading tendril. The elders cried out in warning, but he simply smiled. "Do you want to know a secret?" he asked the approaching void. "Endings are not the opposite of meaning. They are what gives meaning its power." The void tendril touched him. For an instant, his form flickered, reality struggling to decide whether he existed. Then something extraordinary happened. The tendril recoiled. Not from superior force, not from ancient technology. It recoiled because Reeves had opened himself completely, sharing every moment of his mortal existence with the Void Singer. His childhood fears, his first love, his failures and small triumphs, the beauty he had witnessed and the pain he had endured. All of it poured into the void. The Void Singer, a being of pure ending, encountered something it could not consume. A life that had already accepted its own mortality, that had found meaning not despite its inevitable end, but because of it. "They cannot eat what does not resist," Amara explained to the stunned elders. "They cannot unmake what has already made peace with being unmade. This is what we learned during our exile. This is why we chose to become mortal again." Commander Lin joined Reeves at the breach, opening her own memories to the probing void. Then Amara stepped forward, and the elders witnessed something that humbled them beyond words. Her mortal form dissolved, revealing what lay beneath. Not a human woman, but something so vast that the obsidian chamber struggled to contain it. A being that had witnessed the birth of the first stars and would be present when the last ones died. A consciousness that had touched every corner of existence and then chosen, freely and deliberately, to forget it all. Yet even in her revealed form, Amara retained something unmistakably human, the spark of mortality that billions of years had not extinguished, the choice to care about finite things in an infinite universe. "We are not weapons," she said, her voice shaking reality itself. "We are not soldiers or saviors. We are simply what we have always been, humans. Beings who find meaning in the space between birth and death." She turned to the Void Singers that had frozen at the chamber's edge, their hunger momentarily stilled by confusion. "You have been ending things for eons," she addressed them,
but you have never understood what you end. Let me show you. Light erupted from her form, not the light of energy or power, but the light of memory. Every human life that had ever been lived, every moment of joy and sorrow, every choice to love, to sacrifice, to hope, the accumulated weight of billions of years of mortality poured into the void. The void singers screamed. It was a sound beyond sound, a vibration in the fabric of space-time that made the elders' oldest sensors overload. They were beings of ending, who had never before encountered meaning they could not consume. Share it with her, Thessalon commanded the other elders, understanding at last. Add your own meaning, your memories, your choices. The Mindari wove their collective consciousness into the light, adding their species' long meditation on the nature of thought. The Krathos contributed their memories of struggle and adaptation, their fierce joy in survival. The Seleth added their appreciation of beauty, their worship of light in all its forms. The Jaxvari surprisingly offered their love of logic, the satisfaction of patterns that made sense in a chaotic universe. Together, elders and humans created some...
We know, Amara smiled, and when you do, we will be here. Not to fight you, but to show you more of what you have been missing. There is so much meaning in the universe, if you are willing to see it. The void receded. Reality knitted itself back together. The obsidian chamber stabilized, its ancient walls once again solid and impervious. The elders stared at the three humans, who had resumed their mortal appearances. They looked tired now, ordinary, nothing like the beings who had just faced down cosmic annihilation. You could have destroyed them, Thessalon said quietly. I felt your true power. You could have ended the Void Singers permanently. Yes, Amara agreed, but that would have made us what we were before. Gods who solved problems with force. We chose a different path. What happens now? The Luminarch asked, their light subdued. Now, you have a choice to make, Dr. Reeve said. You can return to your sectors and continue as you always have, pretending you are the eldest and wisest beings in the cosmos, or you can join us in something new. Commander Lin stepped forward. For billions of years, humanity guided the galaxy from the shadows. But shadows breed secrets, and secrets breed misunderstanding. We want to try something different. Amara nodded. We want to share what we have learned, not as gods teaching mortals, but as one species learning alongside others. We are the oldest, yes, but that does not make us the wisest. We have much to learn from all of you. Kalveth uncoiled slowly, his scales shifting to colors of deep contemplation. You would give up your power, your position, share equally with species you created the conditions for. We did not create you, Amara corrected gently. We created possibilities. You created yourselves. And yes, we would share everything. That is what it means to be part of a family rather than standing above it. The elders looked at each other. For millions of years, they had competed for status, fought for dominance, measured themselves against each other in endless hierarchies of power and age. Now they were being offered something entirely different. I accept, Thessalon said first. Whatever humanity is building, the Vorthani wish to be part of it. One by one, the others agreed. Even the Jaxvari, beings of pure logic, calculated that cooperation offered better outcomes than competition. Amara's smile was brilliant and completely human. Then let us begin. We have much work to do, and thankfully, we have all the time in the universe. She paused, glancing at her two colleagues with warmth. Well, not literally. We are mortal now, remember? But that is rather the point. As the elders prepared to return to their peoples with news that would reshape galactic civilization, Reeves approached Thessalon privately. You handle that well. The acceptance, the trust. Most elder species take longer to adjust their worldview. Thessalon's colorsome form hummed thoughtfully. I have lived through millions of years. I have seen civilizations rise and fall, stars ignite and die.
But today I learned that age is not wisdom, and power is not strength. He turned to face the human directly. You chose to become mortal, knowing you would suffer, knowing you would die, knowing you would forget everything that made you great. Why? Reeves was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was soft. Because we finally understood that greatness was not the point. Connection was. Love was. The small moments between finite beings who choose to matter to each other. That is worth more than all the power in the universe. Thessalon nodded slowly. I think I am beginning to understand. Good, Reeves smiled. That is all we ever hoped for. Not worship, not obedience, just understanding. As the elder species departed to spread word of what they had learned, 3 humans stood alone in the ancient space. They looked ordinary again, mortal, limited. But in their eyes, if you knew how to look, you could still see stars. Phase 1 complete, Amara said quietly. Only about 1 billion more phases to go, Lynn replied with dry humor. Fortunately, Reeves smiled, we have learned to be patient. They walked out of the chamber that had held the galaxy's greatest powers, 3 beings who had chosen smallness over godhood, mortality over eternity. Behind them, the universe began to change, not through force or fear, but through something far more powerful, through the simple, profound choice to find meaning in finite things. And somewhere in the spaces between spaces, the Void Singers watched and wondered, and slowly, for the first time in their eternal existence, began to understand. The end.